My ex-wife left me for her exciting coworker, but now she's begging me to take her back after seeing what I become. 2 years ago, my wife Amanda told me she wanted a divorce. We'd been married for 8 years, and she said I'd become boring and predictable. She was tired of our routine life, work, dinner, Netflix, repeat. She wanted adventure, passion, spontaneity, all the things I apparently couldn't give her. What she didn't tell me until later was that she'd been having an emotional affair with her coworker Marcus for 6 months. Marcus was everything I wasn't: charming, unpredictable, always planning weekend trips and surprise dates. He rode a motorcycle, had tattoos, lived in a trendy downtown loft. I was a boring accountant with a minivan and a mortgage. The divorce was brutal. Amanda fought for everything: half the house value, alimony, even tried to get my retirement savings. She kept talking about how she needed to find herself and couldn't be tied down to someone who played it safe all the time. During the proceedings, she and Marcus flaunted their relationship everywhere. Social media posts from concerts, weekend getaways, expensive restaurants. She looked happier than I'd seen her in years. All our mutual friends were getting updates about her exciting new life, while I was eating frozen dinners alone in my half-empty house. I was devastated. I genuinely thought Amanda was the love of my life. We'd met in college, built a life together, talked about kids. I'd been planning to surprise her with a European vacation for our anniversary, but she filed for divorce 2 weeks before I could book it. The first year after the divorce was the worst of my life. I was depressed, gained weight, barely left the house except for work. But somewhere around month 14, something clicked. I realized I'd been living Amanda's version of what my life should be, not my own. I started small. Joined a gym, not to get her back, but because I wanted to feel strong again. Started taking cooking classes because I was tired of takeout. Picked up guitar, something I'd always wanted to learn but Amanda said was too loud for our quiet neighborhood lifestyle. Then I did something that shocked everyone who knew me. I quit my accounting job and started freelance financial consulting. Amanda had always shot down the idea, saying it was too risky, that we needed stability. But I was making double my old salary within 6 months, working with interesting clients instead of sitting in a cubicle. I sold the house that held too many memories and bought a downtown condo. Started traveling for work, which led to personal trips. I learned to rock climb in Colorado, went wine tasting in California, took a photography workshop in Iceland. The weight came off, I was dressing better, and for the first time in years, I felt like myself. I started dating casually, nothing serious, just meeting interesting people and having conversations that didn't revolve around household chores and weekend errands. About 18 months after the divorce, I ran into Amanda's best friend Sarah at a coffee shop. She almost didn't recognize me. I was wearing a leather jacket I'd picked up in Italy, had muscles from climbing, and was carrying a camera bag from a weekend photography trip. Sarah couldn't stop staring. "You look completely different. Amanda said you'd fallen apart after the divorce." That's when I learned the truth about Amanda's exciting new life. Marcus turned out to be exciting because he was unstable. He'd quit 3 jobs since they got together, each time with some grand plan that never materialized. The motorcycle? Repossessed. The trendy loft? His parents were paying rent because he spent his money on get-rich-quick schemes. All those weekend trips Amanda posted about, paid for with credit cards that she was now responsible for since they'd moved in together. Marcus had convinced her to quit her stable job to help him launch a social media consulting business that existed only on paper. But the real kicker was that Marcus was seeing other women on the side. Sarah found out because one of them reached out to Amanda directly, thinking she should know her boyfriend was cheating. "She's been asking about you constantly," Sarah told me. "Stalking your social media, asking mutual friends what you're up to. She saw the photos from your Iceland trip and couldn't believe it was the same person." A week later, Amanda texted me. Just a simple, "How are you doing?" I almost didn't respond, but curiosity got the better of me. We met for coffee, and I barely recognized her. The confident, glowing woman who'd left me was gone. She looked tired, stressed, and was wearing the same clothes she'd had during our marriage. The designer outfits and spa treatments were apparently casualties of Marcus's financial chaos. "You look incredible," she said, and I could hear the regret in her voice. "I heard you're doing really well with your consulting business." We talked for 2 hours. She told me about Marcus, about the debt, about how she'd realized that exciting and unstable were often the same thing. She admitted that she'd made a mistake, that she'd confuse being comfortable with being boring. I threw away 8 years with a good man because I thought the grass was greener, she said, tears in her eyes. I see your photos, your travels, your success, and I realize you weren't boring. I was just too comfortable to appreciate what we had. She asked if there was any chance we could try again. She'd broken up with Marcus, was moving back to her own place, wanted to earn back my trust, and rebuild what we'd had. I looked at this woman I'd once loved more than anything, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not love, just indifference. Amanda, I said gently, you left because you thought I couldn't give you the life you wanted. But I never stopped you from traveling, or trying new things, or being spontaneous. You made me responsible for your happiness instead of finding it yourself. I told her about my travels, my business, my new hobbies. I didn't become a different person after our divorce. I just stopped living my life according to what you thought was safe or appropriate. The person you're seeing now, this was always who I was underneath. She started crying harder. I know. I see that now. I was so focused on what I thought was missing that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. You were never boring. I was just too blind to see how amazing you were. But here's the thing, I continued. I spent a year and a half learning to be happy alone, learning to make decisions based on what I want, not what someone else needs. I'm not the same person who would take you back just because you realized what you lost. I told her about the woman I'd been seeing, Claire, a travel photographer I'd met in my climbing group. Someone who shared my new interests, who encouraged my adventures instead of seeing them as threats to stability. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said, standing to leave. But it's not going to be with me. That version of us is gone. The last thing she said was, I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me, didn't I? I didn't answer, but we both knew it was true. 6 months later, I heard through Sarah that Amanda was dating someone new, a stable guy with a government job who reminded everyone of how I used to be. Apparently, she's learned to appreciate boring now, but it's too late for us. Meanwhile, Claire and I are planning a month-long trip through Southeast Asia. I'm running my business remotely, she's working on a photography book, and we're both excited about the adventure. Sometimes people don't realize what they have until it's gone. But sometimes, losing something is exactly what the other person needed to become who they were always meant to be. Amanda thought she was trading up when she left me. She didn't realize she was setting me free to become the man I was always capable of being, just not with her.